Good morning. Today we look at chapters 29 and 30 of Genesis. Tomorrow will be chapters 31 and 32. But we find today that Jacob is on his way, on his journey that his mother has sent him, that his mother and father have sent him on. His mother, was pushing, and his father said, yeah, that'll be a good deal. So Jacob is on his way. And as he journeys, he comes upon a well, and around this well there are 3 flocks of sheep waiting to be watered, and as he's there, and these people they're people of the east, the Arameans, that's what they referred to them as. But some of the flocks were already gathered at the well, waiting for watering, and it was their custom that they wouldn't roll the stone away from the well until all of the flocks were gathered, so that everybody had equal access. So I don't know just how this well, if they had pails that they had to dip water, but they didn't want anybody to get cheated or shorted. And it was evidently a large enough stone that it would take more than one person to roll it away. Although when Rachel came with Laban's flock, and Jacob saw Rachel and was taken with her, and it says that Jacob rolled the stone away and watered her flock of sheep and talked with her. It told him who he was. He said, I am your father's kinsman. My mother is Rebecca, your father's sister. And then Rachel runs and tells her father. And it's just one of those, did she leave her flock? Did she take her flock? And of course, that's a moot point. Joseph was there and others were there to watch him, but it didn't take long for Laban to come and to welcome Jacob, his kinsman. He says embraced him, welcomed him, invited him to his house, and Jacob stayed there for a month. And then after that month's time, Laban and Jacob are talking, and Laban says, it's not right that you work and serve me for nothing, even though you are my kinsman. What kind of agreement can we make? And Jacob was quite taken with Rachel. We know this story. And Jacob says, I'll work for you for 7 years, and then I'd like your younger daughter Rachel's hand in marriage. And Laban agrees to that. And the 7 years go by, and it says it goes by quickly for him because of his great love. And to me, that would take a lot longer to go. To wait 7 years, but it was different. But so he waits the 7 years, and the marriage takes place, and Laban sends his older daughter Leah to the marriage bed, because it was their custom that the older daughter would be married before the younger. And Jacob sleeps with Leah and wakes in the morning and finds out that he, the cheater, has been cheated. I refer to Jacob as the cheater because, he came into the world with holding on to his brother's heel. He bought Esau's birthright. He cheated Esau out of the blessing, and granted, that his mother was pushing and shoving on a lot of this stuff too. But anyway, Jacob finds himself cheated. He gets the older daughter Leah, whom he doesn't have feelings for, and he doesn't get the love of his life, Rachel. And he goes to Laban and he says, why have you done this to me? And he explains the custom. And then Jacob says, well, I want your younger daughter. And Laban says, well, complete the 7-day marriage festival with Leah, and then you may have Rachel as well for another 7 years of work. And so after the 7 days, then Rachel also becomes Jacob's wife, and Jacob works the additional 7 years. But, it was just a week, basically, if you read the Bible carefully in here. I think there's just a week between the days of the wedding. So then now Jacob has 2 wives, and his wife Rachel isn't able to have children, and Rachel is saddened by this, and as we read on through, Leah was unloved, so God opened her womb, but Rachel was barren, and then Leah had a son Reuben, and then Leah had another son and named him Simeon, and she had another son and named him Levi, and she had another son and named him Judah. So Leah has 4 sons, and if you remember the story of Jacob, he has the 12 tribes of Israel come from Jacob's 12 sons, and these four that we've heard are four of those sons. And Levi, when it gets further into it, the Levites become the tribe of the priestly tribe. So Leah has four sons, and Rachel envies her sister, and she says to Jacob, "Give me children or I shall die." And Jacob says, "Hey, is it my fault?" And I mean, it was always the woman's fault, of course. Everything is mostly the men's fault today. I better say that way. But you can't point your fingers at any one thing on much of that. But Jacob says, "Am I in the place of God?" And Rachel says, "Well, since I can't have children, here is my maid, have children with her." So Jacob does, and there are some children, a son, and the first one is named Dan, and then the second son is named Naphtali, and then Leah has quit bearing children, so now she's upset, and so then she takes her maid to Jacob, and Zilpah bore Jacob a son, and named him Gad, and all of these names, when we get into the 12 tribes of Israel, we'll find them again. And then there's verse 14 in chapter 30. "In the days of the wheat harvest, Reuben went and found mandrakes in the field and brought them to his mother. And Rachel wanted some of these mandrakes, and but no, I wasn't going to do that. I mean, no sharing, but so they make a deal as well. And so we find that that there continues to be friction between Leah and Rachel, and this friction carries on, and finally, after many years and many other sons, Rachel finally becomes pregnant and has the son Joseph. It says, verse 22, "Then God remembered Rachel, and God heeded her and opened her womb, and she conceived and bore a son. And she says, God has taken away my reproach." I mean, it was thought that they were, that God forgot them if they didn't have children. I mean, and so when we hear the story of Zechariah and Elizabeth, we hear the story like we've already gone through Abraham and Sarah rather. And, it was God withholding the favor and God opening the wombs and all of those things. And so Rachel has a child, and she names him Joseph, and she asks the Lord to give her another son. And, she said, and so when Joseph has been born anyway, Jacob goes to his father-in-law Laban and says, "Send me on my way. I want to go to my own home country. I want to visit. I want to, give me my wives and my children and my flocks." And Laban, in some ways, agrees to that and says, but then they make this deal with the sheep, that Jacob will take all of the sheep with speckled and spotted sheep and every black lamb, and so he says, so my honesty will answer for me later when you come to look into my wages. Everything that's not speckled or spotted will be counted as stolen. And Laban says, yeah, okay. But then he says, that day Laban removed the male goats that were striped and spotted and all the female goats that were speckled. So Laban, again, removes and takes away all of those that Jacob would have claimed as his. But for, Jacob sets up a 37, at verse 37, he takes some fresh rods of poplar and almond and plane and peels them, and as he puts those in the water in front of the sheep, well, then those sheep, as they have lambs that are speckled and spotted and striped, and Jacob again here is showing his sneakiness in that he only puts these sticks in there when the stronger ewes are coming so that the stronger ewes will have the speckled and spotted sheep that will be his, and the weak ewes, he doesn't have those sticks there. So I don't know how those sticks cause it to happen, but that's what the story tells us in the Bible. So again, Jacob takes advantage of things, and the last thing we read in chapter 30, thus the man, Jacob, grew exceedingly rich and had large flocks and male and female slaves and camels and donkeys. And so, I mean, I guess we look out for ourselves too, don't we? We want to store up treasures on earth. We want to get ahead. And rightly so. I mean, we need to have a nest egg for retirement. We need to provide for our families and that. But in the Bible, there are many stories of this intrigue that just are kind of interesting and have such strange twists and everything. And yet, even though, I mean, we've seen Jacob, cheat his brother, and we've seen Jacob be cheated, with Leah and Rachel, and we've seen Jacob's sneakiness here now, but yet, even though Jacob isn't a perfect person, God is with him, and that's good news for us because we aren't perfect either. May God be with you today.